Hello everyone and welcome to another NinjaGo video. First off, I do want to apologize for the lack of NinjaGo videos lately. Since quarantine has been going on and I've been stuck at home, I've been able to work on other projects that usually I don't get to work on because I'm at school. But since I've been at home for like the last 3 months of my college career, I've been able to work on other projects. So I've kind of been taking the opportunity to work on those, which means that there's been less time to work on NinjaGo stuff, which usually I have more time to work on because I'm at school away from my brick filming stuff. So that's why there hasn't really been too many NinjaGo videos as of late. I do apologize for that, but I think some of the stuff I'm working on as well, it's going to be well worth the kind of pause in content, because lately on the channel I haven't really been doing too much because I've been working on a whole bunch of stuff. So anyway, today I am going to be taking a quick look at the LEGO NinjaGo Movie Game, sort of kind of a retrospective from now, even kind of a look back at it, even though I didn't play it back when it first came out in 2017. I didn't get it for a number of reasons, and I'll get into those here in a minute. But last week, as of when I'm recording this, WB Games made it free on all platforms. So PlayStation, Xbox, PC, you could download it for free. The time for that has now passed, but I'm assuming that if you are watching this video, you probably already knew about the free giveaway of the game, or you probably already had the game. So I mean, since it was free, I'm like, free LEGO game, why not pick it up? So I went ahead and I picked it up, and I was kind of debating on whether or not to do like a full the best deal episode on this, which is my video game review show that I do on the occasion whenever a game comes out that I actually want to take a look at critically. I was really considering doing it for this game, but considering it's so old, I think it'd just be better for me to talk about this. And that's another thing, is that I'm not even writing a script for this. I'm just talking about it. I'm just whatever thoughts come into my head, I'm gonna talk about. So it may be a little less organized than usual for my NinjaGo videos, but oh well. So yeah, so this game came out in September of 2017. Originally, it was developed by TT Fusion, which is, I would call them the B team over at TT Games, because they've pretty much been focused on the handheld games, and then I think they kind of stepped up to then work on the movie-centric games. If I'm remembering correctly, it's like the LEGO Movie video game and the NinjaGo Movie Game. I think they also did LEGO Star Wars The Force Awakens. That sounds right. I think so. But but for years they've been the mobile team. They've been working on like the Nintendo DS, the Nintendo 3DS, the PlayStation Vita versions of the LEGO games. So the lesser versions of these games, which I mean, that's not to disparage them. I think they do a good job with the hardware that they're given. In terms of those games, like for instance, LEGO Star Wars: The Force Awakens on Vita is actually a pretty, considering some of the other LEGO games that were on Vita that I've played. It does actually feel more like an actual console LEGO game than some of the others do, which is good, because like for instance, the LEGO Movie Game on Vita is just not good at all. So the fact that they do at times they do manage to make good LEGO games on these handheld consoles, that's good on them. But yeah, even they're still the B team. So it's interesting to see that they've kind of been given the opportunity recently, in the last couple years, to make some of the console games. And it hasn't worked out that well, I don't think. I haven't played The Force Awakens on console. I've only played it on Vita, but for what I saw, it looked fine. It's just that I'm not really too interested in playing a whole console game a full console LEGO game based around just one movie. I kind of questioned it whenever they announced that they were going to do that. It was like, okay, so you're just going to have it based off of one movie? That seems a little strange. But yeah, Star Wars was quote unquote back for the first time in a long time. It never really left, if you ask me, but that's a whole discussion for another day. So, the first new movie, I could see why they maybe wanted to put out a game based on The Force Awakens and not wait for the trilogy to be wrapped up. And of course, now that the sequel trilogy is wrapped up, we are getting the Skywalker saga at some point this year. Apparently, it was originally supposed to be October 20th, but then the second that information came out, it got pulled. So who knows when the game, if that date is true or if it's going to come out at some other time. Who knows? I'm looking forward to it either way. But so that game seemed to be fine. I don't think the Lego Movie 2 got that great of reviews. I don't know if that was TT Fusion or if that was TT Games regular, but I remember looking at the review score for that and it being just kind of meh. So I don't know. So yeah, so knowing that TT Fusion were the ones that worked on the Ninjago game, not exactly what I would call encouraging. It was I didn't know who was the main developer until I booted up the game, and then the credits were rolling, and it said powered by TT Fusion, because the game has a good style. It does a good job at mimicking the style that the movie was mimicking, which was kind of trying to make it seem like these old kung fu movies. So it does a good job with that. I'll admit that. So it has the whole credits thing powered by TT Fusion. I'm like, oh no, the B team developed this. That's not good. And it definitely feels like the B team developed this, for better or for worse. This game has a lot of good ideas, I feel like, but the good ideas that are in this game are kind of harmed by the fact that this is the Ninjago movie game. And for those of you out there that have seen the movie, which I'm going to assume is all of you since this is a Ninjago video, I'm going to assume all of you have seen the movie. The movie's not really that great. So the game could have potentially elevated this movie of the story, but it unfortunately didn't. And so that means that the game as a whole, it kind of feels weird because it is, the story of the movie. So let me talk about the things I think that are good ideas in this game. So the first thing is that it's not just your typical button mashy Lego game where you just hit square the entire time and enemies will die. Enemies will actually block now, which is cool. That's a great way to spice up the combat, and then you can actually perform different moves with different button combos, which I think is a really great idea. Considering that it's Ninjago, so it's martial arts. It's partially martial arts inspired / based on, spicing up the combat a little bit by having these button combos to perform different moves. I think is a great idea. I love that. That's one of the redeeming features of this game. I do really appreciate that they did that. So you can perform these kind of high attacks and kind of do these very kung fu movie inspired over the top air attacks where you're just kind of floating and beating up people. It's not realistic at all, but it's not supposed to be, and it's supposed to just be there to be fun, and it is. There's these kind of charge attacks you can do and all this different stuff. So that's really appreciated that they kind of decided to spice up the combat a little bit. I do enjoy that a lot. And then for these different moves you can make, then they also have a skill tree, which is a first for Lego, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think a Lego game has ever had a skill tree before. Technically speaking, Bionicle Heroes had upgrades that you could buy, but they weren't really skills that you unlocked. It wasn't skill points that you unlocked, so that doesn't count. So this, to my knowledge, this is the first game to have a skill tree in it. I don't know, maybe Lego City Undercover had something similar to that. I don't know, I haven't played that game, but that actually, I kind of do want to go back and play Lego City Undercover. That one actually kind of looks fun. I might do that soon, but it's cheap. So skill tree, very very cool idea. I enjoy upgrading the skill tree. It's your typical video game skill tree where you go through and you make this ability more powerful and blah 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 and stuff like that, and then your attacks become more powerful. The time, for instance, the time that you spend beating up an enemy is now increased, as well as the combo will be multiplied, and the studs that the enemy will drop will then be multiplied by double, and stuff like that. And when you upgrade the skills on the skill tree, so that's cool. And then let me see here. So is that really the only good things I have to say about this game? The style. No, I was talking about the style. I alluded to the style a little bit earlier. The style is nice. The animations in this game are really good. The graphics aren't completely photorealistic, because Lego games have never had completely photorealistic graphics. But in terms of the animation on the characters, even though they don't look photorealistic, they do look, in terms of their movement, they do look and feel like the characters from the movie, which, doing that very stop motion based style of movement, where every now and then there will be some missing frames, and then they'll throw bricks in these kind of in frames to make the illusion of our movement or something, which is really cool. So that they mimic that style very well. Like the stuff like Ninjago City, that stuff all looks, it looks like it's all made out of bricks, which is good. I mean, this is I guess this was technically speaking, this was the third time, but really it was only the second time they had made a game based off of a Lego movie, because the Lego Batman movie did sort of kind of have its own game, but it was trapped inside Lego Dimensions, which is a little unfortunate. I kind of wish I'd picked up that, because I have Lego Dimensions. I kind of wish I had picked up that level pack, but oh well. So I mean, in terms of a standalone release, this was only the second time they had done a Lego movie game. But I mean, it certainly looks like the whole world is made out of Lego, where it's appropriate for it to look like it's completely made out of Lego. And then, of course, the thing about the Ninjago movie that sets it apart from the others is that it does have the more realistic looking environments, because you have trees and sand and plants and all this other stuff that they go into the jungle, and you see and you see all this other stuff, and that stuff, it doesn't look as good, but it looks just as good as any of that stuff has ever looked in a Lego game. So yeah, the graphics are good, the style of the game is certainly good. And at its core, it's a Lego game. Lego games are always fun. They're big old collectathons, beat 'em ups, and I don't think you can really go too wrong with the Lego game, because at their core, they're very fun. Even when they're not really as great as some of the others, in cases like this game, comparing it to like maybe the original Lego Star Wars, or a newer game like Lego Marvel Superheroes, or I say that's a newer game, that's from 2013, it's old now. Or Lego Jurassic World, something like that. It may not be as great as some of those games, but at its core, it's still a Lego game. It's still enjoyable. I really have a fun time playing it. But yeah, that's kind of where I stopped praising the game, because this one just isn't great. Which is unfortunate. I feel bad in saying that, but no, this one just isn't really that great. Part of the reason it's just not really great is the story at the core of the game, because all of these games are story based. Some of them have, like recently, I say recently, it's been it's been a long time at this point. They've been doing this for almost 10 years, but ever since Lego Batman 2, they've been putting voice acting in the game, and they've been doing some of their more original stories, rather than being completely based off a movie. So you have stuff like Jurassic World that has all of the Jurassic Park movies in it. And so, of course, they just use audio from that movies to tell the story of the movies. And Lego Star Wars and etc., stuff like that. But then you have the Lego DC supervillains, or Lego Marvel Superheroes, where it actually tells an original story using these characters. And so of course, they're story based, and a game can sometimes live and die based on the quality of its story. And the Lego Ninjago movie game does not have a great story, and that's because it is based on the Lego Ninjago movie, which does not have a great story. I haven't done a full video on the Lego Ninjago movie, mostly because it's just kind of old at this point. and I don't really think there's too many points to make about the movie. Anything I could say about the movie, about stuff that works or doesn't work, has probably been talked about ad nauseum in the community, and so it's not worth it to put my thoughts out there. But yeah, I still love the NinjaGo movie. I think it's gorgeous. There's enough there to where it's a fun way to waste an hour and a half. But at the end of the day, it does kind of feel like it's a waste of an hour and a half, which is unfortunate. Where you watch any of the other Lego movies, the first one, the second one, or the Lego Batman movie, you feel like, your life is a little bit more enriched from having watched those because of the messages in there and the humor and just all around amazing creativity found in those movies. But in the NinjaGo movie, it's just, it's not that. It's just, honestly, the NinjaGo movie kind of feels like what I think people were expecting the first Lego movie to be, which is just kind of this commercial for toys on the big screen. And unfortunately, that is kind of the way it feels at times. I mean, there's still some fun to be had in it. I still really like Justin Theroux as Lord Garmadon. I mean, the story of Lloyd and Garmadon is told well in the movie. It's just that the overall pacing of the movie is off, and then the other characters that we love from the TV show don't get enough moments to shine, so it does feel a little empty there. And of course, the animation's gorgeous. But so where the movie fails, of course, in terms of its story, that of course means that the game is going to fail as well. And in a lot of ways, the game actually fails on its story more than the movie does. And one of those ways is the voice acting. The voice acting in this game is hilariously bad. It's just bad. It's just really, really bad. They tried getting some sound-alikes to sound like the actors that they got for the movie, and in a couple places I can hear that, but then in others it just doesn't sound good. The guy that does Lloyd in this game does a decent job at sounding like Dave Franco. The guy that does Jay actually does a decent Kumail Nanjiani impression. His voice is a little too deep, but the accent is there. And that's basically where my good thoughts about the cast stops. Again, I've talked about this before. I don't like to be negative, but there's not too much good to say about this game, unfortunately. The guy that they got to be Garmadon, I feel like that they had them audition based off of them being able to get close to matching voice lines straight from the movie, and they had a limited selection of quotes. So there's one or two moments where the guy that does Garmadon in this game, he does sound like Justin Theroux doing those lines, but then it's only for those lines, and the rest of the time he sounds completely different. And it just doesn't sound good. So like when Garmadon is talking with his generals in the volcano base about needing something to one up the Green Ninja with, and he needs something with a little bit of pizzazz. The way that Justin Theroux says that, he does a good job at mimicking that line. But then the rest of the time, he just doesn't sound anything like the character from the movie or the TV show. Kai, Cole, Zane, Nia, they just don't sound anything like their movie counterparts. Which, honestly, it's actually, to a degree with Kai and Cole, it's actually a little bit of a Bionicle Journey to One situation, because one of the problems with the cast in that show is that they weren't casted well. So, like, 4 of the 6 Toa sounded identical to one another, and so there were times where you didn't know who was talking. With the NinjaGo game, with Kai and Cole, that's the exact same thing. You can't tell if Kai is talking or if Cole is talking. You just kind of have to listen to the dialogue to figure out which one is which. It's like, okay, I know Kai is the one that said this time because he mentioned something about fire, and Cole was talking about sick I just heard this voice line talking about sick beats, so that was Cole because Cole actually had an identifiable personality in the movie. But there's other times where then they're just saying, hey, let's beat up these bad guys or something like that. It's like, okay, was that Kai or was that Cole? I can't really tell. So The voice acting just not great in the game. Wu, the guy that they got for Wu, I mean, I suppose he sounds a little bit like Jackie Chan, a little bit, but that's as far as I'm willing to go. He doesn't really sound that great either. The voice cast in this game really brings it down, unfortunately. This I don't know if it's because TT Games is a British-based studio, so they can't work with the same talent because of the distance, and if it would be too expensive to get the actors on video call or something. But this would have been a great time to bring in the TV cast to do these characters for the game. Because this is one of the reasons that, as I was alluding to earlier, this is one of the reasons I didn't pick up the game back when it first came out, is that I watched the launch trailer or whatever, and then it was cut together with and the trailer was cut together with bits of gameplay and cutscenes and stuff, and I could hear the voice acting in the game. I'm like, oh, that doesn't sound anything like the voice acting in the movie. Yeah, that kind of is turning me off a little bit. And then the movie wasn't getting great reviews at the same time. I'm like, I'll hold off on this. I won't pick it up now. And then it's like 3 years later and it's for free, and that's when I'm getting it. So yeah, the voice acting not great, which is unfortunate. It would have been awesome if they had gotten the TV cast in here, because I don't think they would have been able to do anything to elevate the story, but at least they would have. The voices the voice acting would have been good. The voices would have been recognizable. You would have been able to tell who was who. And that's kind of been my problem with NinjaGo games from the start, is that they just don't get the TV cast in to do the voices, which is weird. I think, anyway. Like I said, it could be some sort of weird thing where they don't have access to that cast because of I don't know, guild regulations or something, because that TV show cast is based in Canada, so they're working by Canadian rules, while TT Games is having to work with British Actors Guild Union or something like that. I don't know. It may be something to do with that. I don't know. So, but because they've done a couple NinjaGo games in the past prior to the movie game. There was some sort of Nindroid Revolution or something handheld game that I can't quite remember the name of. And then there was, of course, Shadow of Ronin, which was actually more of a official, quote-unquote, an official title that was exclusive to handhelds, but it was treated more like it was a console game. And I've seen some gameplay from that. And honestly, it looks like a decent game. It's just, same reason I didn't pick this up, is that, the voice acting is just not great, and it's not the TV show cast. Especially since Shadow of Ronin was sort of kind of supposed to be kind of a bridge between Tournament of Elements and Possession. The fact that they didn't get the TV show cast for what is supposed to be a bridge between seasons of the TV show is just a little bit weird, because I've watched the cutscenes for that game. They actually have like a Tournament of Elements style intro with that would be with the Weekend Whip. That would have been like the intro for that season there, and it looks very it's a new intro, but it's authentic to what we would see on the show. So it's clear that they were fans of the show and they wanted to make a game based off the show, but they just didn't get the voice actors from the show. So So the NinjaGo movie game would have been a great time to get the voice cast from the show and to voice these characters, especially since they couldn't do it for the movie for obvious reasons. And so it would have been a little bit of a comfort blanket, so to speak, to have the TV show cast in for the movie game. I mean, just imagine Britt Miller. I mean, again, complaints about the movie. It's been said before, but I mean, I just don't like Zane in the movie. It's just it's almost it kind of. I mean, it's a different interpretation, sure, whatever, because it's not the main canon. But I mean, it just kind of takes whatever story Zane had and just kind of throws that away and just makes Zane a cheap joke, which I don't like. And so I mean, Britt Miller, I think, would have been able to bring some dignity, so to speak, back to that character for the movie version for this game, because oh my gosh, the dialogue Zane has in this game is so cringy, because the voice acting being bad certainly doesn't help, but the writing isn't great either. which certainly doesn't help. So the in game there's a couple moments that I enjoy. A lot of them are centered around Jay in the game. Again, like I said, the guy that's doing Jay is doing a decent job of trying to mimic the guy from the movie. And there's a couple moments where he actually does have a couple funny moments, and that are written well. But most of that's cutscene. That's some cutscene stuff. Most of the time, like the dialogue that you find in a level as you're running around with the characters, it is so bad. It is really bad. And Zane stuff especially is very cringy because it's just robot joke after robot joke after robot joke. He says LOL I don't know how many times, and it got really annoying. It's like, okay, we get it. He's a robot trying to be a real boy. This joke doesn't work upon repeated uses. At least in the movie, they kept him as a background character joke to where it didn't become overplayed, but then in the game it became overplayed, which is unfortunate. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about the voice actors and kind of the writing and stuff. But so a little while ago I said that this game could have had the opportunity to enhance the movie story and kind of maybe hopefully improve upon that a little bit, and it didn't. In some ways, it even kind of made it worse. So here's what I meant when I kind of said that. In some ways, it kind of makes it worse. Is that I don't know if, because it seems like that there was some behind the scenes production trouble with the movie, where they kind of had to stop and restart it a couple times. I mean, the fact that it got delayed by a year, I think, is evidence to some of that, and some of the deleted scenes from earlier drafts of the script kind of seem to be evidence to this. I would legitimately be very interested to see the Hegman brothers' initial pitch or initial draft of this script compared to what we ended up getting, because there's like 6 or 7 writers on this movie, and the Hegman brothers are 2 of them, but they were only involved at the very, very early stages, and then the ideas that they came up with, I guess, were kind of mutated from there. So I don't know if part of that is why the story of the game feels so disjointed, even more so than the story in the movie did. But the story in the game makes less sense than the story in the movie. So I'm wondering if, because the production on the movie was troubled, that TT Games was only given like scripts to work off, some script pieces to work off of in terms of making the cutscenes and the levels for the game, and then later they got the actual footage from the movie for the actors to do voiceover stuff for, and then it was too late to change some stuff. Because the ending of this game, the game just stops. It doesn't end. It just stops, which is weird. I feel like, because most LEGO games have some sort of final level that is some sort of big boss battle or something, like a typical video game. For instance, for the movie related games, they always make some sort of big level out of the climax of the game. In the original LEGO Star Wars, you could play the movies in different orders, but if you went Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, Revenge of the Sith, of course, you end the game with the battle between Anakin and Obi-Wan on Mustafar. And there was that cool gameplay mechanic of, since it was co-op, the final boss was your sibling or your friend or whoever you were playing against. And so then and then they had a whole bunch of hearts, and then you had a whole bunch of hearts, and then and then you had to see who would win. And of course, no matter who actually won, then a cutscene would play, and then Anakin would still end up in the lava. But they had some sort of final boss battle there. LEGO Jurassic World, a game that I adore. I love that game. That game's awesome. LEGO Jurassic World, of course, if you play the movies in order, then the game ends with a big fight with the Indominus Rex, and then the T-Rex comes in, and then there's some quick time events, and then Blue the Velociraptor comes in, and then the big whale dinosaur thing the Mosasaurus comes in and eats the Indominus Rex, and then the game ends. You have this big final level. NinjaGo doesn't have a big final level. It just kind of ends. And, part of the reason I think it just kind of ends is because the movie just kind of ends. The movie doesn't have a third act. Well, it does, but then it doesn't have a middle. It kind of has a beginning and it has an end. It doesn't have a middle. The game is very much this. The game is actually kind of different because it feels like it has a beginning, because you have to space some stuff out with gameplay to elongate the story. So it feels like it has a beginning, it feels like it has a middle, but then it doesn't feel like it has an end. It just kind of stops. And so in order to kind of gamify the story a little bit, they have to take some liberties with the story and change some stuff, but then that means that the stuff that they put in later doesn't make so much sense. So for instance, a whole thing in the movie is that the ninjas are kind of they rely too much on their mechs and not enough on their actual skills as martial artists or ninja. They need to find the power within them and stuff, and so they find the ultimate weapon, and Garmadon steals it. But then Lloyd tells them that they have the power inside them, and then they've discovered their elemental powers, and then they use that to beat up some of the shark army. And then I was about to say and use that to win the day, but they don't use that to win the day. They don't use their powers at all to win the day. They beat up some guys with the powers, but then Lloyd is the one that wins the day because he has a heart-to-heart with his dad inside the cat. So of course that's how the story plays out in the movie. That's not exactly how it plays out in the game. So in the game, as you go along, Wu is with them on the journey through the jungle for a part of it. He's teaching them how to be better ninja. And another thing I do appreciate about this game is that it does actually give more lip service to Spinjitzu than the movie does, because I think Wu says it like that one time, and that is literally it. They never mention Spinjitzu again. Which is weird considering it's Ninjago, but I suppose it was the Ninjago movie, not the Lego Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu movie. So the ninja actually end up unlocking their elemental powers as the levels progress, and they're called it's called insert element name here, Spinjitzu. So Kai unlocks his, it's fire Spinjitzu. Jay unlocks his, it's lightning Spinjitzu. And I appreciate that they tried to include Spinjitzu into the game, but then it's not really Spinjitzu. It's just their elemental powers, where they just like Nia will throw some water at something to activate some sort of thing that's specific to her. So that's but the animation is literally just her creating water out of thin air and then filling up a tub or whatever, and she's not actually doing the whole tornado thing, which is odd. I was like, it's not Spinjitzu then. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's not really the main problem here. The main problem is that by the time that the ninja reached the Temple of the Ultimate Weapon with Garmadon, they all have their elemental powers unlocked. They have the power within them unlocked. And then they get in, and so you get to the temple, and then it plays clips from the movie, where they find the chest in the place. They find the old family photos. Garmadon and Lloyd have that little talk where Garmadon wants Lloyd to come back to Ninjago to help rule it with him. And Lloyd doesn't like that, and so then they had that whole kind of keep away game from Garmadon with the chest, and then Garmadon leaves as the place is starting to crumble around them, and he says, "I should have taught you to catch." And he escapes with the ultimate weapon. And the ninja, they're like, no, we're doomed, we're stuck in here, we don't have our powers anymore because our Garmadon took the ultimate weapons, and that's where our elemental powers were. And so the ninja are panicking. No, you have, and the whole clip plays out where Lloyd's like, guys, you have the power within you. It's like, yeah, they know that. We've just gone through these levels where the ninja have unlocked their elemental powers. They know that they have this. It's like, it's a big revelatory moment in the movie, but in terms of the way that the game has been telling the story, it's information that the ninja already know. So they just briefly forget the fact that they just have elemental powers, and then Lloyd has to help them unlock them again. It's super weird. And I was just like, just edit that clip differently, where the whole thing is crumbling, and then just have them escape using their elemental powers. Don't do the whole thing where they're cowering, and then Lloyd is, have Garmadon close the door, cut to the exterior shot of the building, and then just have Jay blow open the door with the lightning as he does, because they have they have their elemental powers, and then they can chase after Garmadon. And then that's not weird. That's not where the weirdness ends. So the ninja do the whole escape down the mountain thing, and then Kai sets the big dragon head on fire, and it starts chasing them, and they jump off the cliff. And then that's where the clip from the movie ends. So then for those of us that have seen the movie, we know that Wu catches them with the Destiny's Bounty that he's repaired after he got washed downriver. And so he repaired the Destiny's Bounty. He catches them, and then they race off to stop Garmadon from destroying the cat and taking over the city again. Well, that's not how the game portrays this, which is what kind of leads me to believe that they didn't necessarily have all of the shots from the movie, and then they were working more off of the scripts, and then they put the shots from the movie in after. Because when Wu drops them off in the city, to start the next level, they're not riding the Destiny's Bounty. They're riding Lloyd's Green Ninja Mech Dragon, which should be destroyed. So, did TT Fusion just not want to make a Destiny's Bounty asset for them to be riding on, or did they not realize that it was gonna be the Destiny's Bounty, and so then they just decided to make it one of the flagship sets from the wave, being the Ninja Mech Dragon? And so it's super weird. It's like I played this game with my sister. My sister has not seen the movie. I've seen the movie, of course. But she was. So the story she's being told is the story of the movie as the game tells it. So there were moments where I had to pause and explain things to her, because the game wasn't doing exactly a good job at explaining things. The elemental powers being one. She's like, well, hold on. We just went through all these levels unlocking our elemental powers. And then, then Wu shows up and drops them off in the city on the Green Ninja Mech Dragon. She says, hold on, didn't that thing get destroyed? I was like, yes, it did get destroyed. We saw it. We saw it perched off the building in a cutscene or whatever, in pieces. All of the mechs were destroyed. And so it's not consistent. There's all these weird continuity errors that don't make sense. And then you play through that level, and then you help some firemen get out of their truck that's precariously dangling off of a ledge. And then you cross this little bridge thing that you build, and then you get the final cutscene with Lloyd and Garmadon having their little talk from Garmadon being inside the cat, and then the game ends. It rolls credits. It's like, wait, that was it? That was not much. It didn't feel like a final level. It was just another level that I was sure that we were going to get another level where we would have to fight Meowthra or something, and then they would somehow work, and they would have to work that in with the cutscenes, or we would have to fight Garmadon first, and then he would get eaten by the cat, that's what I thought was going to happen. But nope, it just ends. It just sort of kind of ends. It ends, and my sister legitimately said, "That was it." I'm like, yeah, I guess that was it. Okay, but then after the credits roll, then you have the final level, which is just one of those extra levels that they throw into the game to give you some extra gold bricks, and it's minifigure versions of Garma Mecha Man and the Green Ninja Mech Dragon running around destroying Ninjago City, which is kind of the opposite of what the point is behind the story of father and son coming back together and not taking over the city together. So yeah, super weird. Of course I had been enjoying playing the game. Honestly, the novelty of unlocking classic Ninjago characters, because that's something that's cool. It's that you have classic versions of the Ninjago characters from the TV show that you can unlock in the game. And then, because if they had just solely made this game based off of the movie, it would not have had enough content to justify a $60 price tag. Honestly, with the quality of the game that I've been talking about, I still don't think it was worth $60. Maybe a $30 or $40 game, but definitely not a $60 game. But, if they hadn't had all this extra stuff that they'd thrown in for the TV show and stuff, then it definitely wouldn't have been worth $60. So it's cool that, after you beat the story, that you can get more gold bricks by playing free play and exploring the open worlds and stuff, and then you can fight the bosses from the TV show. I've gone through General Cryptor so far, but I need to go through and get some of the others. But yeah, so that's super weird. It's weird that the game just kind of ends, and then another big problem I have with the game is, and this is the place where it felt like, yep, this was done by the B team, all right, is the fact that you don't get to control all the mechs, and that you don't really have that great of an access to control the mechs, because I don't know, this may be a free play thing that I end up unlocking later that I haven't discovered yet, but you only get to control 2 mechs. You get to control the Green Ninja Mech Dragon and Jay's Lightning Jet. Water Strider, no. Cole's Wheel Mech, no. Fire Mech, no. Zane's Ice Tank, no. You don't get to touch those at all. There's moments where you get to them and you think, oh, okay, now we're gonna get to play as these mechs. No, you don't. You just control the mechs you'd already controlled, or you move on to another part of the city and then get the ninja to go to their mechs, and then you just don't get to use them. I mean, considering the mechs were such a big selling part of this movie, between they were all over the marketing. Yeah, they were the flagship sets. They were the Green Ninja Mech Dragon was like the big flagship set because it was the most recognizable, and it's a great set. But like the Fire Mech, the Water Strider, all these mechs were pushed pretty hard. And I got 3 of them. I ended up buying 3 of them because I thought they were so cool. And they're sitting over on my shelf. I can look behind me and look at them right now. But the fact that both the movie and the game wasted the mechs when they were such a focus of the marketing is so disappointing. It's like, I wanted to have why could we not have a big mech battle with the mechs? It's like, that would have been so cool. I mean, you sort of kind of get that, but it's nothing different from your typical on rails starfighter mission in a Lego Star Wars game or something like that. I mean, it's just it's super disappointing. It's like because that was one of the good things about Lego Marvel Superheroes and Lego Marvel Avengers, is that you have this New York open world to play around in, and then you can spawn vehicles and fly around. In a Quinjet, or I think the Thanos copter was in one of them. I can't remember if the Thanos copter was in Marvel Superheroes or if it was in the Lego Avengers. But you can fly around in the Thanos copter. I'm pretty sure, in Lego Marvel Superheroes, like the Magneto Mobile, which is a deep cut to the comics, the Fantastic Four car, all this other stuff. You could fly around in the city and use them. It's like, it would have been really awesome if in the NinjaGo Movie Game you could go to these little vehicle pads and unlock the different, like you maybe start out with the Green Ninja Mech Dragon and the NJ's Lightning Jet, but then as you play through free play levels and stuff, and you get into the secret areas, you can unlock the Fire Mech and the Water Strider and Garma Mecha Man and Garmadon's original Shark Mech and stuff like that, and then you could run around the city and destroy stuff, and stuff like that. It's like, that would have been really awesome. I would have really enjoyed that, but no. So that's super disappointing. So, yeah, honestly, I'm glad this game was free. Because there's been a couple moments where I've seen it on sale for like $30, $20, something like that, and I've kind of been tempted a couple times. It's like, I don't know. Maybe it would be fun to play a Ninjago game on console. Let's see what this game is about. And then, when WB said, hey, it's going to be free, I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm glad I didn't get it on sale, because now I'm going to get it for free. I'm super glad I got it for free. I don't think that this game nowadays certainly is worth more than $20. $20 game, it's fine, but if you still want to play this game and you haven't already, and you want to play it despite all the warnings I've given you about not playing this game, I think it's $20. I mean, I feel super bad for kind of talking negatively about this game because, again, I don't like to be negative. It's just not that great. Which is unfortunate. But I mean, it's probably just one of those things where TT Games had their hands tied. They had to work with what they had, and what they had to work with wasn't much. And then again, there's that whole so it's probably I don't know. It's just not that great, which is unfortunate. TT Games is a good studio. They make a lot of good games, but they also make a lot of games. So it's not every game that they come out with can be a home run. I think they were also still working on LEGO Dimensions at this point. They were probably finishing up the very last of LEGO Dimensions at this point. Maybe they were also working on LEGO Marvel Superheroes 2 at this point, I think. Because that was a 2018 game? Yeah, that sounds about right. So, because, they've made 3 Marvel superhero games now. 1, 2, and Avengers. So, I mean, it's probably... They were, there's a reason they probably put the B team on this. It's because, there was all these different production problems with the movie. And, they weren't able to, so the production was, that meant the production on the game was probably a mess. And they were focusing on these other projects, but they needed to get this game out because it was part of the contract with WB, I'm sure, is that, we make these movies, they need to have some video game components to go with them. Because with the exception of the Lego Batman movie, which, as I said earlier, was a tie-in thing with LEGO Dimensions, each movie that they've come out with has had a standalone video game to come out with it. So, yeah, I don't know. It's too bad, but I mean, maybe someday we'll get a good Ninjago game on console, and it'll have the TV show cast, because I would love that. Because again, there's some stuff that they did in this game that was cool with the skill tree and the different form of combat. That was really awesome. I really enjoyed that. I just kind of wish that there was a better game around these new mechanics. And I mean, hopefully they can bring these new mechanics back someday. Because they're like the multi-build thing that they introduced in, I think it was Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens. That was in this game. So I mean, it's with every game TT makes. They kind of add that to their other games. And it was because it's interesting. 2011 saw 2 LEGO game releases: LEGO Star Wars 3: The Clone Wars and LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean. Just between those 2 games, because we got both of them, we played both of them. LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean is actually super fun. They added in the feature where you could just hold down the triangle and have immediate access to all of the character selection, which was not a feature that was in LEGO Star Wars 3. So that was it was in those games released like 2 months apart, 2-3 months apart. It was not long. So it was kind of interesting to see the changes that were made in just that short amount of time and that dev time. So if there's one thing TT does well, is that they do iterate on their games very well. And sometimes you'll have a feature that'll only be in one game and it won't be in the next, like like the whole Lego Indiana Jones 2 create a level thing. I don't think that's really ever come back. But then you'll have smaller stuff like that will make the leap to other games. So, oh yeah, and then this game also has like the challenge rooms or something like that, where you can actually have 4-player co-op, which I think was sort of kind of carried over from LEGO Dimensions. But I haven't tried those out yet. They're probably not really that like with the whole game, probably not that great. So I haven't touched them yet. But there's still a lot of the stuff in the game I haven't touched. I'm going to go for the Platinum Trophy because I like 100%ing Lego games. Again, they're an easy collectathon. You can put on a podcast and grind through these side quests and free play levels and stuff like that. So I'll definitely work on doing that. I don't know. I kind of considered doing a Let's Play for this, going back and after I'd played it through with my sister, and because she doesn't really play video games much, but she likes the Lego games, so we always play Lego games together. We've been doing that since we were kids, so that's always a fun kind of nostalgic thing to do. But after we did that, I was kind of considering doing a Let's Play of this. I don't think I will, just because it just ends it doesn't really have a good final level, so there wouldn't. So the Let's Play would just kind of end too. It's like, okay, well, that was it. I guess I'll see you guys later. Bye. And it wouldn't be really that great. So, oh well, it is what it is. So yeah, I rambled on about this game for almost an hour. Well, hey, I haven't been giving you guys much Ninjago content on my channel, and here's an hour of it. So I'm sorry it wasn't as positive as I usually like to be when it comes to talking about Ninjago. But the thing I was talking about today just not really great overall. So unfortunately, I had to be a little bit negative. But the world is not perfect. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, like I said at the top of this, I'm still working on other projects that I'm really excited about. One of those is Lego Star Wars Troopers Season 4, which the teaser trailer is out now for. Hopefully those episodes will be ready by June or July for me to put up. So, there's going to be some stop motion stuff for me here pretty soon. When I get done with that stuff, then I'll have more time to work on Ninjago stuff. So there may be another top 10 coming pretty soon. I don't know. It's funny that at the beginning of the year, or like late last year, I said that one of my plans for this year was going to be doing an Ninjago video every month. That hasn't happened, for a myriad of reasons. But hopefully I'll be able to get some new Ninjago stuff heading your way pretty soon. So sorry for the gaps between Ninjago videos. But hey, it's quarantine where things are a little different right now. So. All right, I'm going to quit rambling. I've taken almost an hour of your time at this point, and I will talk to you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.